Good morning, Gregorians. This is the Group 1 presenter, and our topic this second semester in General Biology 2 is all about animal and plants reproduction. And for our objective today, number 1, describe the word reproduction. Number 2, describe plant and animal reproduction. And the last one, realize the similarities between animals and plant reproduction in terms of reproduction. So let's move on to our proper topic, which is the reproduction. So, reproduction is the biological process by which new individual organisms are produced from their parent or parents is known as reproduction. Each individual organism exists as a result of reproduction, which is the fundamental feature of all known life. Okay. Reproduction is integral for the survival of all animals and plants. Take note that they need to produce their own offspring of their own kind to ensure their continuity of their species. Take note that without the process of reproduction, the life of any animal would come to an end. The purpose of reproduction is to ensure the survival of species and to avoid extinction of that certain animal or plant. That's why it is very important to have a reproduction. Let's now move on to the reproductive animal parts. Animals compete with other individuals in the environment to maintain themselves for a long enough period of time to produce tissue that is not necessary for their own survival but is necessary for the survival of the species. The primary reproductive organs of animals are gonads, which include both the testicles and the ovaries for each gender. It also includes the ducts that the gonads use as passageway. And the reproductive organs are gonads, ducts, and lastly, reproductive organs. Okay, gonads are glands that produce hormones that are involved in reproduction and other function of the body. Testicles, also known as testes or male gonads, are oval-shaped glands that produce sperm and sex hormones in the male reproductive system. Ovary, a pair of glands in the female reproductive system that produce eggs and hormones. Ducts, a passage with well-defined walls, especially a tube for the passage of excretion and secretion. Penis, a male reproductive organ that is used for urination, sexual intercourse, and reproduction. Vagina, muscular elastic tube that connects the uterus to the vulva and is an essential part of the female reproductive system. And for the other parts, you can pause this video to see or read the other parts. So let's move on to the parts of a flower. Number 1 is the stamen, male part of a flower. Number 2, anther, small sac that produces pollen grains which are immature. Filament, tube-like structure that support the anther and where pollen grains pass throughout the anther. Pistil, female part of a flower. Stigma, sticky and feathery surface on which pollen grains land and grow. Style or stalk, slender tube that connects the stigma to the ovary and where the pollen grains pass down the ovary. Ovary holds the ovules and they later become the fruit. Lastly, ovules, it fertilizes and will eventually become the seed. So now let's look at the comparison of reproduction. So the process of fertilization occurs in both plants and animals. The ovary is the structure found in many plants that is similar to the ovary found in animals. Male and female flowers exist in flowering plants. The pollen from the male flower fertilizes the egg after it has been transferred to the female flower. When an egg is fertilized, it begins to develop into embryo in the same way that an animal embryo does. So just look at the illustration and just pause this video and examine the comparison of the two reproduction, which is the plants and animals. So there are two types of reproduction, namely the sexual reproduction and the asexual reproduction. But let us first explain what is sexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction is the process of creating new organism by combining the genetic information of two individuals. The genetic information in most species is carried on chromosomes in the nucleus of reproductive cells called gametes, which then fuse to form a diploid zygote. A male and female gamete is needed in order to produce an offspring. So sexual reproduction is most common in animals. It involves two parents, a male and a female, and their young will look like them, which is the offspring. We can classify animals into three groups according to their sexual reproduction. So take note of this because I didn't put it in PPT since it will make it longer. So we can classify animals into three groups according to their types of sexual reproduction. You have the Oviparous, Viviparous, and Oviparous. So let's cover them. Oviparous. Oviparous animals hatch from an egg. So the example of it is birds like ducks are oviparous. And the next one is Viviparous. Viviparous animals grow in their mother womb. Then the mother gave birth to them. What animals are example of it is mammals, including us humans, since we grow in our mother's wombs and are born from them. Dogs and cats are also example of viviparous. And the last one is ovoviviparous. There aren't many animals with oviviparous reproduction. Their embryos develop into inside an egg, which grows inside the mother's womb. They're like a mix of viviparous and oviparous animals. So do you know the example of oviparous animals? The most famous are some sharks, snakes. Okay, so let's keep the ball rolling. Let's discuss the mechanism of fertilization. There are two types of fertilization, internal and external. Internal fertilization, this is the union of an egg and sperm cell during sexual reproduction inside the female body. Following fertilization, the embryos may be laid as eggs in oviparous organisms or continue to develop inside the reproductive tract of the mother to be born later. Examples are the cats, lions, pigs, and dogs. Internal fertilization occurs when the fusion of gamete is inside the female body. External fertilization is a mode of reproduction in which a male organism's sperm fertilizes a female organism egg outside of the female's body. External fertilization usually occurs in aquatic environment where both eggs and sperm are released into the water. Example is frogs. An external fertilization is the opposite or fusion of the. Okay, now let's move on to the second part of the reproduction, which is the asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is a type of reproduction that does not involve the fusion of gametes or change in the number of chromosomes. The offspring that arise by asexual reproduction from either unicellular or multicellular organisms inherit the full set of genes of their single parent. Asexual reproduction generates offspring that are genetically identical to a single parent. Meaning asexual reproduction, a parent organism will not need a mate or partner anymore for it to produce its own offspring. The offspring of asexual organisms are an exact same copy of its parent organism. We have the four types of asexual reproduction. Number 1 is the binary fission. Number 2, fragmentation. Number 3, budding. And the last one is the vegetative reproduction. Let us first explain what is binary fission. A binary fission is a parent separates into two or more individuals of about equal size. This type of reproduction is common among single-celled organisms, including bacteria. So meaning binary fission, it occurs in single-celled organisms. It is when a parent cell divides itself into two equal parts and create an offspring. Also, binary fission, it is valuable to remember what the terms mean. The word binary means something having two parts. Bi means to the new daughter bacteria, while the word fission means the movement of splitting or dividing of two equal parts. For example, is the bacteria. Number 2 is the fragmentation. Fragmentation, a body breaks into several fragments which later develop into complete organisms. For example, a new starfish can develop from a single ray or arm. Meaning, fragmentation occurs when an organism breaks a part of itself into a fragment, and the fragment develops into a new organism. The third one is the budding. In budding, organisms reproduce by having new individuals split off from existing ones, which result in genetically identical parent and daughter organism. Meaning, budding, it happens when a parent organism grows a bud attached to its body. When the bud is developed, it will detach itself from the parent and form a new organisms. Examples are yeast and jellyfish. The last one is the vegetative reproduction or propagation. Vegetative propagation is a form of asexual reproduction that occurs in plants in which a new plant can be grown from any vegetative part of the parent plant. It means vegetative propagation is a type of asexual reproduction in plants where new plants grow from vegetative parts such as stems, roots, or leaves, rather than seeds. This method ensures that offspring are genetically identical to the parent plant. The example include the strawberries, tubers in potatoes, and cutting or grafting. It is commonly used for rapid plant multiplication and maintaining desirable traits. So this is the comparison of sexual and asexual reproduction. Just pause this video and look at the illustration. Reproductive traits in animals.
Reproductive traits reflect the ability of organisms to pass on their genes to subsequent generations. These traits are involved in mating system and in the natural selection among animals that have given rise to an incredible diversity of reproductive strategies. Mating. A mating system is an animal society's organization in terms of sexual reproduction and pair bond behavior. Three general mating systems are seen in animal populations: monogamous, polygamous, and promiscuous. The polygamous system includes two subtypes, polygyny and polyandry system. Monogamous. In monogamous system, one male and one female are paired for at least one breeding season. Example: a married couple where both partners are committed to one another and do not engage with others romantically or sexually. Polygamous. In polygamous relationship, one individual has multiple spouses or partners simultaneously with the knowledge and consent of all involved. Example: a man who has several wives, common with some cultures or religious practices. Where polyandry means one woman with multiple husbands, or polygyny means one man with multiple wives is practiced. Promiscuous. These occur when females mate with multiple males and males mate with multiple females. A promiscuous individual engage in casual sexual relationship with multiple partners, often without emotional commitment or long-term exclusivity. Example: a person who regularly has short-term or non-committed sexual relationship with various partners with no intentions of forming a lasting bond.
Competition. Multiple males cannot mate with a female simultaneously in species that mate by internal fertilization and hence must compete with one another. Direct male competition frequently involves violence or fighting, but there are other types as well. Alright, let me explain it. So let's talk about competition among males in animals that produce through internal fertilization. In many species, male cannot mate with the same female at the same time, so they must compete to win her over. Examples of direct male competition include male-male aggression. Males fight with each other for access to female. It means this is when males physically fight each other to gain access to females. Think of it like a showdown to prove who's the strongest. Number 2, courtship rituals. Males engage in dances or other display to attract females. Meaning, instead of fighting, some males perform special behaviors like dances, songs, or flashy displays to impress females. It's like a talent show where the female judges who she likes the best. And last one, the lekking, a courtship rite in which numerous males join together and display simultaneously, allowing females to choose. So in this case, males gather in one area and display themselves at all once, and the female gets to choose her favorite. Imagine a big group performance where the best performer gets the reward. In all of these cases, males are competing to show that they are the best choice for the female, ensuring strong and healthy offspring.
Sexual selection. Sexual selection is a shared selection where one sex prefers certain qualities and members of the other sex, increasing their reproductive success. Females generally sexually select features in males since they are choosy, and most sexually reproducing species as a result of this competition. Sexual selection often leads to sexual dimorphism. Sexual dimorphism distinct differences in size or appearance between males and females. Secondary sexual characteristics, exaggerated or conspicuous features related with mating activities and reproductive success. Breeds, flashy tails, and headpieces, and even stock eye stock lens are examples. So, sexual selection is a process of natural selection where certain traits increase an individual's chance of attracting mates and reproducing. This often results from female choice, where females prefer specific features that signal genetic fitness. For example, in the peacocks, males develop large, colorful tails to attract females. The vibrant tail patterns indicate good health, making the male a desirable mate. However, these large tails can also make the males more vulnerable to predators. Over time, this process leads to sexual dimorphism, where males and females look different, and the development of secondary sexual characteristics such as peacock's tail. Sexual selection plays a crucial role in shaping the evaluation of traits that enhance reproduce success, even when those traits come with survival cost.
Reproductive traits in plants. Plant reproduction is the process of producing new offspring in plants, which can be done sexually or asexually, unless mutations occur. The colonial plants are genetically identical to the parent plant and each other. There are two types of fertilization. First, cross-fertilization. Cross-fertilization, the fusing of male and female gametes from separate individuals of the same species, is known as cross-fertilization or allogamy. In dioecious plants and all animal species with separate male and female individuals, cross-fertilization is required. Cross-fertilization is performed through cross-pollination, which occur when the pollen grains are transmitted from one plant's cones or flowers to another's egg-bearing cones or flowers. Example of cross-fertilization is flowering plants. In apple trees, cross-fertilization occurs when pollen from one tree is transferred to stigma of a different tree, often with the help of pollinators like bees. This result is genetically diversity in the offspring. And the second is self-fertilization. Self-fertilization, fusion of male and female gametes produced by the same individual. Flowers that carry out self-pollination are hermaphrodite. Orchids and sunflowers are one of the example. And also, pea plants. Pea plant can self-pollinate, meaning the pollen from the same flower fertilize its own ovules. This results in offspring that are genetically similar to the parent plants.
Overall similarities. Cell reproduction. Both plants and animals reproduce sexually by combining gametes from two individuals of opposite sexes. Gamete production. Both plants and animals produce male and female gametes through meiosis cell division. Fertilization. Both plants and animals share genetic material through fertilization, which occurs when gametes fuse. Mitosis. Both plants and animals use mitosis, a type of cell division, in the reproductive processes. However, there are some differences between plant and animal reproduction, including gametophyte stages. Plants have a gametophyte stage in their life cycle, where gametes are produced through mitosis. Animals do not have this stage. Fertilization assistance. Plants often require assistance from insects, such as bees, to transfer pollen from the male to the female part of the flower. Animals can move around and transfer sperm to an egg directly through physical interaction. Offspring development. Animals exit the mother's uterus as newborns or hatch from an egg, while plants grow from a seed that germinates in soil.